How is your girlfriend so okay with you being trans? My ex tried to be okay with it, but couldn't get used to my preferred name, etc.
Alright. Well, this is for me. Okay. So, I'm a little bit confused by this question, because I'm not sure if the asker's girlfriend was familiar with a seemingly cisgendered male, but a pre-transition apparent female. So I'm not sure if this question applies to me. Because when I met Ray, he was apparently female. And we started... Apparently. Okay. It was apparent that you were female to my eyes. Okay. And to my understanding, he was apparently female. And I started liking him and being involved with him before he transitioned and before he told me that he wasn't really female. Or came out to me as being trans. And the transition was difficult for me in a verbal sense and in a mental sense because it was hard to get used to using different pronouns to address him and using a different name to address him, just because of habit. That was difficult, and it was a little bit hard to wrap my mind around the concept of him not being the same gender, because as we know, our society is so heavily dependent on gender roles that it's a very large part of someone's identity, and so it's pretty hard to rewire your perception of someone with a different gender. But eventually I got used to it, and it was fine, and his being a different gender didn't affect how I felt about him emotionally, and we've just been getting closer since then, and his personality didn't really change, but well, it did change, and so did mine, because we're people and we grow and evolve. So we've been the same ever since, and it just wasn't a problem for me. And I think that for some people, if a transition is a problem for them, it's not necessarily their fault, because I think for some people, the label of their orientation becomes difficult, and being involved with someone and having their gender change can be hard. And for me, it wasn't, because I see my sexuality and my orientation as a case-by-case issue, and I don't label myself with any particular orientation, so that was why it was easier for me to deal with that. But with others, I can understand how it would be different. So it's pretty personal, and the situation is different every time, and there's no straight answer. But that's how I got through it. It wasn't hard for me, because I love him. But if you love someone, it can still be hard. I'm not saying that it was only easy for me because I love him. I just happened to be able to adjust to the situation better than other people might. It also helped a lot that our friends and families were very accepting of Ray's transition, and if we had been growing up in a different kind of environment, it may have been different, and it may have been harder for me, and it all depends on the situation.
Good job.
Yay. I did well.
Well.
Do you guys go to school together?
Yes.
We do. We don't have any classes together, though.
She's in the smart classes. I'm in the not smart classes.
You're in the smart classes.
Slash.
Some smart classes.
Some
crazy-ass animal science classes. Day cray. What was your first impression of each other? Well, I thought you were this brooding, scary, possessive, freaky, insert gender identity here. I was so scared of you.
Yeah.
Just saying.
My first impression, if we're just talking about the online thing, I was, like, really angry just because I was, like,
he thought that he was prettier than I was. And he was like,
so weird.
He was like, how did this
By the way,
like her?
The weird part about this whole conversation is that I don't, like, remember a lot of my past when I was identifying as a girl, and it just
You told me recently that you remember thinking.
Oh, I remember thinking. Yeah, I thought
and that I was goth.
Yeah.
You thought I was goth.
Okay, but it's just really weird to think about now, because I don't even think of myself as that person anymore, obviously, but it's like I'm very detached from my old person self. I don't know how to explain that. It's weird.
What about when we met in high school?
Okay, when we met in high school, I had the biggest crush on her, and I chased after her like crazy, and then she was like, nah, I don't know, that was weird. She was like, no, I don't want to date you, and I was like sad, and then we stopped talking. Well, she stopped talking to me. I kept on calling her, and then
Dated someone else.
And I dated someone else.
And then he texted me the day he and his other girlfriend broke up, and was like, "We broke up." And then we had a date. We went out for your birthday at Ted's.
And then you slept over my house. That was before. This was before I came out.
Wait, our first impressions was that you had a crush on my best friend. That's my impression of you in high school.
Oh.
Anyway.
My first impression of you is that you're beautiful.
And
I love you.
Okay. How long have you been together? Well, we met and started being romantic in 9th grade, in the end of 9th grade. And then we acted together and sort of hooked up a little bit until the summer after 9th grade, but we never officially dated or dated at all. And then we started dating on November 3rd at the beginning of 11th grade in 2011. And then we dated until June, that next June. And then we broke up, and then we're kind of on and off over the summer, and then dated a little bit at the beginning of senior year, which is this year, and we broke up again. And then we just started dating again on
the 3rd.
February 3rd. Do you have a tradition? That ties in, because one of our traditions is the 3rd. On every 3rd, we do something, because even though it's confusing what our anniversary is, because our first anniversary was November 3rd, and then after that, it wasn't November, but it was other 3rds. We just like to celebrate the 3rd. Also, knock knock.
Who's there?
Interrupting tree.
Interrupting
tree.
tree.
Tree. It's not romantic, but it's an inside joke.